Yo, what is up? Back with another post-trading analysis, man. We took this trade on SUI. I'm going to go over the higher time frame context and then break down the trade that we took. Overall, SUI just kind of in the middle of nowhere. You can see we're in the lower section of this wick that mitigated an extreme after downtrending for an extended period of time. Zooming in on the local price action. We were downtrending, for an extended period of time, coming down aggressively into nothing, like I said, and then we were in this overall range right here where price action was compressing. So you can see you had some, exhaustion to the downside, a couple liquidity highs to the upside, but majority of this range, if you just look at it as an overall range, is just a compression where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, highs building and 1, 2, 3 lows building there. And you got the first move, fake move out of the compression. So we're looking for a distribution here. You also had a distribution as your range starting point here, which, gives even more confluence to a ranging environment in this region. Although, as you can see, this distribution isn't the highest quality due to the demand and the more aggressive move to the third tap. But we can also label this fake demand due to the compression, but still, it's just a more aggressive move and just overall a sharper model up right there because of that move up right there. But yeah, you can see we had an accumulation pushing price to the third tap POI, and the only reason I was interested in taking this trade was because the local model that we developed right here, where I will just unhighlight that. So you can see the current pivot and like the location we end up pivoting stopped me out before, pushing down lower again. But I took this trade on much lower risk because my pre-planning stated, I think I still have it here that I just saved. My pre-planning stated that the model isn't highest quality, so I want to see a high probability TCT in combination with Bitcoin or USDT dominance in POI. So we didn't see Bitcoin or USDT dominance in the POI, but we did get a pretty high quality local model here. Not the most insane, but decently high quality coming into the extreme supply, very close to the deviation of tap one. But another flaw with this model, another reason also why I didn't take it with very much risk at all, was the fact that you also front ran the deviation of that tap one, which as you can see, just price ended up seeking that, even though there wasn't much of a POI high other than the sweep of this block and just another random liquidity high. So, and we don't have any kind of reversal necessarily confirmed just yet. We still have some room for higher on Bitcoin potentially, so we could still come up and do a Model 1 here in validating this tap for the Model 2. We will see, but for now it is a confirmed model, just not the highest quality, nothing I would have entered on right here. But yeah, so this was the local model, extremely low time frame. I have kind of like a rule that I made for myself when I was back testing, where if the overall model isn't the highest quality, which this isn't, if it's not a super high quality, high probability model that I would trade on its own, the TCT in TCT creation, the model in the third tap POI right here, must be a high enough quality model to take on its own, regardless of if there was a higher time frame model there. So this was a pretty high quality model, but it didn't meet the range duration requirements, because you can't call this a daily range because you don't have liquidity, Asia liquidity below you. You just have the London liquidity. So you weren't grinding up the entire day, just London and then New York with the New York PM reversal potentially. So you can't label it a daily range. So technically it doesn't meet any of the exceptions for a model on its own to be below that minimum range duration. The exception that it does meet is the fact that you are in this higher time frame model. So you can trade a lower time frame TCT and TCT in the third tap. So it does meet that exception. But like I was saying, just like through my back testing, through my experience, I found that it's better to not trade a low quality model in the third tap of a higher time frame low quality model. So that's kind of what this was. It was mainly just low quality due to the low time frame, but the model itself was decent quality, and it was kind of just like a hedge against the idea. Taking the trade was like a hedge against the idea of Bitcoin potentially just going lower from here and not getting that deeper mitigation, which unfortunately we have stopped out, and Bitcoin still hasn't got the deeper mitigation. So we're gonna see how that ends up playing out. But yeah, so just took this guy on 0.2 risk, very minimal. Just giving it a try because there's about 22 or so RR down to the technical target 20.4. So that could have had really nice reward even though I took it with the 0.2 risk. So only got stopped out with 0.2 risk, which is decent. Kind of just like a not the most high quality play overall. So not a super crazy trade, but in my opinion, it was worth a try, but definitely on lower risk. Definitely on lower risk. And you can see, say this does end up completely for now. I'm very curious to see what happens, but you can see that the front run of the third tap deviation, which is kind of becoming a requirement for me to actually get that deviation of your tap 2, because I was looking over all my winning trades that were Model 2s, and I think literally every single one deviated, at least that I've taken in live environments, like on a prop firm, not just like in back testing or that kind of stuff, or just random like lower risk trades on the broker back in the day, but just the the higher quality, just overall, just every trade I've taken on my prop firm, out of all the wins, every single Model 2 was deviating tap 1. So that's slowly becoming a requirement for me, and you can see that this did not do so. And then now that we just got that extra push up, this could potentially be a confirmed model, with this being a retest right here. But of course, it doesn't really give me an entry because it's not the highest quality, and Bitcoin was not in the POI. Like, it's a decent model if Bitcoin was coming into the POI, especially with this extra return to zone buildup. But yeah, so the preferred scenario is definitely going to be a more aggressive push up for the Model 1 here, and even better would be a push up with a little some sort of a level 2 break of structure, kind of making this local range into its own model, giving a more either refined entry or just more confidence in the entry due to potentially like a level 1 and then a level 2 break, where you can target just to here, because maybe you have just a higher quality ranging environment at that point just in here, and then you can leave some to run lower because of the potential of Bitcoin putting in a high time frame pivot. So that can be nice because, yeah, but that's not a requirement. Just the Model 1, high quality Model 1 confirmation is the requirement that I'm looking for this potential model going forward. But yeah, that was the trade there. We can just check some of the details here. Volume profile. At the time of entry, we were much below that volume area high. You can see price came up closer to it before rejecting there. Quite a high volume area high. I'm a bit surprised that's way up there, not like right here, just based on the overall look at this thing. But yeah, you can see this demand looks pretty strong, although it could be fake demand due to the context, just with the volume area right here, and then this massive volume spike right here in the bottom formation kind of backing it. Does look like a quality demand just from a range perspective. But yeah, of course you have that compression, first move, fake move there. So yeah. Also, another thing to note is when you are trading one of these first move, fake move environments, yes, you can have a more aggressive second tap, and oftentimes you don't come back for that high, because this was the first move, fake move. This had a purpose of being a first move, fake move, so why would you exceed that high again? So just overall, in my experience, you put in either a Model 2 in those cases, or if it's just super high quality, you won't even come up. You'll just end up rotating down to the technical target. So that is something to note. So, it could add confidence to the idea of a Model 2 actually playing out from here, although Bitcoin isn't in line with that idea. If it comes to its POI, that could cause SUI to come up once again. But yeah, I mean, I think I covered everything that there was to discuss on this. One more thing actually that I remembered is something I've been noticing is these kind of like when you have that lower time frame model and you get that more aggressive move up, when you're in a bit more of a risky environment, these kind of demand zones here can definitely work. If it was a super high quality development, it's not going to stop me from taking a trade. But even though this demand right here is mitigated, you can just see the overall structured move, sell to buy, inefficiency candles, pushing up into that third tap, getting the low time frame break there. If there's reasons to come higher, which, in this case could potentially be deviating that tap one, this demand can work. So, something to be aware of when you have, just a clean structured level. It's not picture perfect demand. It is a clean structured level with some inefficiencies that can definitely work. Where you can see the rest of the model was zero inefficiencies, just highs building up. Closest thing you have is like this area right here that maybe could provide, you have a lot of volume right here. You have some sort of inefficiency here that got mostly filled. That could, cause a bounce, is this region right here. But it's, yeah, either way. What I'm trying to make is that there's no quality looking structured moves with inefficiencies up until here, which is a bit sketchy because it's right next to your entry and it's a lower time frame model. So yeah, it definitely makes it a bit of a gamble, bit of a low quality play, which is why I took it with a lower risk. But yeah, that is it for this one. Appreciate you guys for watching.